Hello, everyone. Welcome to Geek Battleground. My name's Colt. I'm just outside the movie theater here and getting ready to go see Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Been really looking forward to this. Can't wait to see what they do with it. And I know that it's gotten some bad reviews. The audience seems to like it really well. So I'm going to kind of side with them. Hopefully, we get a good movie here. But I'm really excited. This is the one I've been waiting for all year. Of all the movies that I've been dying to see this year, this is the top. So let's go take a look at it, and when we come back, I'll be giving my review. Enjoy, guys.
This is Geek Battleground.
Today, we're going to be talking about Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. This is going to be my review. And to be quite honest, I really did like the movie. Uh, it was, I don't think any movie can really live up to the hype that this movie had. Um, but I really personally enjoyed it. But now, before we really get started here, I just wanted to let you know that there might be some spoilers. It's certainly not my intention to spoil anything about this movie to anyone or for anyone. So please, if you haven't seen it, please turn back now and go see it first, and then come back, and hopefully we'll be able to do this, and it'll be something that you can enjoy and really hopefully get some valuable information from. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree, but I'm just trying to be as entertaining as possible for you guys. So as the movie started, there was a retelling, of course, of Batman's origin, and then it kind of gets into the after that it gets into the after effects of Man of Steel. You see things from Batman's point of view, and about the devastation that happens during Zod and the battle between Zod and Superman. So it's one thing I really loved, that opening sequence, especially there in Metropolis, um, where they're showing how others viewed that battle. You could, I thought they did a really excellent job with showing that, and how those actions taken affected so many others. I mean, they didn't really address it. I mean, you could see a little bit in Man of Steel, but they didn't really address it to as great in as great a detail as they did with this one. So it's something that I really appreciated, the opening sequence there, because it really showed, especially why Batman is about to do the things that he's going to do against Superman. So uh, I really appreciated that. Then it kind of gets into the story 18 months later. And of course, we've got Superman and Batman, and then Lex Luthor's doing his thing. I'm not really going to get into all the story beats here, but to be quite honest, I really did find that the story was very cohesive, although a little overstuffed. It's kind of like a wonderful burrito that you make at home. You put too much stuff in it. It's really, really good, but man, it's a little messy. So I really thought that was kind of what this movie was like. I mean, there was just so much to see, so much to interact with, as far as, or to, I should say, not interact it with, but to take in. And I thought they did a good job displaying some of the themes, although I really do kind of wish that they would have maybe taken some things out, uh, kind of pulled a few threads, as I heard Jeremy Johns say, uh, and really kind of developed some other story beats, especially the one about, uh, especially Superman's storyline, because they're really dealing with whether or not we actually even need a Superman. in this movie, and it's a question that I think a lot of even comic book fans have thought over time. A lot of people say they can't relate to Superman. Um, I tend to disagree with that because I think that he is as much human as he is Kryptonian. So even though if not physically, certainly mentally. But I really wish they would have kind of played with that a little bit more. I loved the characterizations. The cast overall was very, very good. Um, the interaction between the characters, especially with between Wonder Woman and Batman, I really loved what they did there um, with that, and certainly Gal Gadot knocked it out of the park as Wonder Woman. I know I'm really excited to see the uh, Wonder Woman movie that's coming up. It's going to be a period piece. They're going to base it there during World War One, and they kind of relate to some of that in this movie. And I really just think that really she knocked it out of the park, and it really gets me excited for her movie coming up, Wonder Woman, the solo film, and certainly the other characters as well. I thought Ben Affleck was an excellent Batman. To be quite honest, I wasn't always. I thought Christian Bale did a fairly decent job as Batman, but I never really felt the Bruce Wayne part. It came off as, I don't know, a little too fake for me. And here I think that Ben Affleck has really kind of struck a balance between the two. Of course, we all know that Batman is the real character. He's the real persona, whereas Bruce Wayne is the mask. Uh, but the way that Affleck played him, it was in some ways very subtle. I thought not too over the top, um, and I really thought he captured what he was trying to do with this movie. Captured the essence of Batman. And now, Batman does kill in this movie. So if that's something that you're not going to like, you may want to steer clear if you haven't seen it yet. But to me, it didn't really seem. I mean, he's older. He's already dealt with a lot of things. Perhaps he's become. He feels like he's become more jaded, and I really felt that Affleck really portrayed that well. Henry Cavill again returns as Superman, and I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I mean, it's kind of so many of us, kind of have this uh, nostalgic feeling towards Christopher Reeve. But if they're going to cast this, they've got to have somebody play this part. So as much as we all love Christopher Reeve as Superman, he really was so good. I really think that Henry Cavill is doing a great job as Superman because he's really, um, I think, measured in the ways that he handles the character. He doesn't allow himself. He really kind of keeps himself a little more controlled, a little more reserved in this character because I think that's what he needs. That's how he needs to be played. Because if Superman was to actually let loose, you know, he would do exactly what this movie questions whether or not he would become. So I really appreciate that, and certainly his interaction with Lois Lane. I think Amy Adams is a good Lois Lane. Um, Again, have that nostalgia toward Margot Kidder, but I thought they did a really good job. They have a really good interaction, I think, and a really good chemistry together. So to me, that's really the most important thing when it comes to these types of movies. Well, and actually any kind of movie when you have a love interest between the two. And I really thought that they did a really good job as far as their chemistry. They really feel like they do care about one another. And Amy Adams, I mean, she really puts on a pretty good performance here. And then, of course, with Batman, you have Alfred. And Jeremy Irons lights up the screen as far as I'm concerned. I loved his Alfred. He is sarcastic and a very funny man. But you can tell he really cares about Bruce. Uh, and I thought that what they did with him, their interaction too, it was really, really good. It could have been much better. And again, I can't say enough about Gal Gadot too. She was terrific. Now, one of the characters, and as far as the other cast goes, before I get into Jesse Eisenberg, I really felt. I mean, this is a top-notch cast. I mean, they've got really excellent actors. Holly Hunter, was great as the senator from Kentucky. Um, I can't remember his name. Plays, I guess, General Stanwyck or whatever. I mean, he's really good. He's been a really good actor. I just can't think of his name right off the top of my head. But I should probably look that up. But as a whole, the cast is very solid. I think they do a really good job. Now, to get into Jesse Eisenberg, now I've kind of gone back and forth about this. I've thought about it for a while, and in some ways, I really, really like his performance. Of course, he's playing Alexander Luthor Jr., I guess. He's not actually Lex Luthor. His dad was the one who actually started up LexCorp. And I think they're very clear on his motivations, almost a little too clear. You don't really see, I think, pretty much from the beginning, you don't really see a whole lot of growth as far as the character. He does kind of peel back the layers a bit, so it's not completely over the top. Although he definitely gets pretty over the top, especially toward the end when he plays this character. Just kind of what actors do when they play Lex Luthor. But I did feel like at times he was pulling back the layers, and we got to see a little more of Lex Luthor. Um, so for the most part, I appreciated his portrayal. It was definitely different from some of the way he's been portrayed in the animated movies, and of course the other um, live action movies. Uh, but so it was definitely different. Uh, I do think at times he was a little over the top, and they really stressed this theology, whatever twisted version of theology that he believed in. So, because they definitely pushed that God versus man a lot in this movie, and that he's certainly the catalyst for that. I do think that some of the choices he made were definitely interesting, but for the most part, I thought he did a good job. I thought overall the casting as a whole was very solid. Affleck was great. I love Henry Cavill. Uh, Diane Lane. Oh my god, I forgot to mention Diane Lane. She is a with what little she has. I mean, I love her in this movie as Martha Kent. And then we also get to see Kevin Costner back again too. And to be quite honest, he was one of my favorite parts of Man of Steel. You know, we got to see a little bit of wisdom come from him as well. I don't know if it's a dream sequence or just Clark remembering some things, but it was very interesting to see him back and so those two characters there, I really love those the way they're portrayed by those two actors. Um, so yeah, for the most part, everything I thought the acting was excellent. Um, Again, I do think as far as pacing goes, um, I don't know. I thought it was paced pretty well. Again, if they could have cut back on some of the story um, things, there was. I really think that they overpacked it. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I think they were really trying to either both say too much and then set up too much. I think that instead of laying the groundwork, even though I don't think that they need to follow the Marvel way. By no means. To be quite honest, as far as I'm concerned, they could have made this a Justice League movie, and I would have been just as happy with that. Um, I don't really see the need for them to follow that. Those characters are iconic. People know who they are. They don't need to be set up like the Marvel Universe did. Nobody knew who Iron Man was. Nobody knew who Thor was beyond the Norse god. So, um, but this is the way they're going, and so I don't think they're rushing it too much. But I do think that they kind of maybe should have had a after credits sequence to kind of set up some of the stuff because there's and here's some spoiler stuff here. Uh, I think that some of the apocalypse stuff, the dark side stuff that they set up, probably could have been left out or used as an end credit after credit sequence. I really think they could have done that, and it would have served the movie much better. Uh, and of course, there were a couple other little things here too. There was a little setup for the Justice League movie itself. We got to see Aquaman, um, Cyborg, and the Flash in little snippets. So we get to see those characters and see how they were going to, or see that there's definitely a part of this story. So again, they're doing some universe building here, which I do like that, but I think that they could have maybe cut back a little bit on that. But for the most part, as far as that goes, that's really kind of a minor gripe. I thought everything else was fairly well done. Um, and one thing too, I don't think that I forgot to mention this. It's in my notes here. I think that even though I loved the opening sequence there in Metropolis, that probably was my favorite sequence. Even though there are some great sequences later on, but where Bruce Wayne is driving through Metropolis, during the battle between Zod and Superman, that by far and away is probably my favorite sequence of the entire film. Now, again, it does not to um, demean anything that comes after that, but I really enjoyed that because it really showed the consequences, the stakes that were raised, the consequences that occurred because of that battle. I mean, again, we saw some of that in Man of Steel, but not nearly enough. We really, it really brought it down to the man on the street, I thought, and certainly into Batman's eyes, how those things would be affected. But the opening sequence, again, I am glad that since they did this, that this is the way they did it. But we really did not need to see Batman's origin again. That's how the movie starts off. It starts off with him and his parents and coming out of the movie theater. They kind of update a little bit. Originally it was in 1939. It was them going to see Zorro, the Mask of Zorro. Well, you see the moniker. It says, or the marquee. It says, um, Excalibur. It was 1981 when they were shot and killed in this one. But we've seen that before. Uh, but again, it didn't overwhelm the film, which I thought was good. They didn't go and put it right in the middle of the movie. They started off with it. They got it out of the way, and I thought they did it in a very artistic way. So it wasn't. Again, this is just a minor thing for me. I think they could have done without it, but the way they did it, I thought was about the only way they could have done it if they were going to do it. I hope that makes sense. Um, so let's see. Yeah, and again, I really think they could have done a Justice League movie here. Um, they really could have brought all those characters in again, and I mentioned that earlier. They're iconic. People know who they are. They did not need to. They did. Everybody talks about how successful Marvel is and how they really should have followed that formula. I completely disagree. But maybe that's a conversation for another day. That's not the movie we got. So let's discuss this one. Now, to be quite honest, probably my least favorite part of the movie was Doomsday. Now, if you didn't know that Doomsday was in the movie, you must have avoided that second trailer. So, to be quite honest, if you've seen that trailer, you've seen every story beat in the film. Now, to me, it didn't really make a difference. Yeah, I mean, I knew everything that was coming. Again, there weren't a whole lot of surprises, but I think that's something that if they were going to put it in, they should have really not let that be known in that second trailer. I didn't like the look of the character. I hate the fact that they changed the origin because, to be quite honest, the most interesting thing about Doomsday is his backstory in the comics. I never was a big fan of the Superman Death of Superman storyline. I mean, it was okay. Uh, I, I always thought that if they were going to kill him, it should have been Lex Luthor instead of some random character that they just simply created, uh, or maybe another one of his villains. But in this, they really change the origin story. I don't want to, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but they change it a whole lot, and um, I see what they were trying to do. But I think personally that Doomsday really could have either been saved for either a solo Superman movie, or, you know, maybe not used at all. He's not one of my favorite characters. But if they're going to bring him in, you know, to change that backstory, which is really the thing that makes him interesting, you know, that uh, experiment that he was as a Kryptonian infant, and how they continue to um, those scientists on Krypton kept doing things so that he would die, and then they would improve him and reclone him, and eventually he would become what he became. Um, I mean, to take that away from Doomsday really kind of, I think, weakens the character. Um, so if you're expecting that type of origin in this movie, you're not going to get it. So that, to me, was probably the weakest part of the movie. The fight scene was excellent, and definitely the fight between, as far as the action scenes go, that, you know, the fight between Superman and Batman. I love the tension when they first meet as Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne, which we did see in the trailer. Um, I thought that was terrific. Um, so as far as but as far as those action scenes, I mean, it was very action packed, I thought. But that Doomsday scene, oh my goodness. I really wish they hadn't changed the character so much. And he had powers that he didn't have in the comics. Again, I'm more of a comics purist, so those are things that I would like to have seen maybe stay a little closer. I'd like to see them stay a little closer to his comics origins. Yeah, no, Doomsday was not good. Again, the battle was good, but I thought they could have, really been used him a little better. If you're going to use him, use him in a way that um, brings these characters together like it did in the comic books. It did bring Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman together, but really it was the entire Justice League that was taken out by Doomsday in the comics. So, of course, again, a kind of a weaker version of the Justice League, but still, Superman was there, and it was left up to him to take this creature out. Um, and I'm not going to discuss the ending at all, because really that's something that I think that if there are people who are here or who are watching who haven't seen the movie yet, I really want to, if you want to still see the movie after my review, yeah, I think you need to actually see that for yourselves to see what you think. So that's pretty much my review. Again, I really did like the interactions between the characters. I thought the story was, again, I thought it was a cohesive story. To me, the story made a lot of sense. Um, Again, I just thought it was just a little too full. I wish they would have stretched out. And again, that was one of the problems they had in Man of Steel. I really would wish they would have stretched out some of these character beats a little more. Especially with the Superman storyline. Um, and I could have used a little more Wonder Woman. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that they used her very, very well in the movie. The action was good. The tension between Cavill and Affleck was excellent. Uh, as far as a villain, Jesse Eisenberg did, I think, a pretty good job. Again, some odd choices that he made, and not quite as subtle as what he could have done, but a little over the top for me. But still, I didn't think he was a bad choice once I actually saw his performance. So to be quite honest, there's really not a whole lot I didn't like about this movie. It may sound like it, but I really did enjoy it. And as far as my rating goes, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now, it definitely could have had some improvements. And again, it was pretty dark, but I didn't really feel like it was overly dark. Um, but yeah, 7 out of 10. I really liked the movie. Um, and again, you know, and I've actually seen it twice. I probably should have done this review after my first showing, but I've actually seen the movie twice, and it actually got better for me the second time around. So I hope that helps. Uh, it's actually, as I was reading about some of the articles about this, it's actually setting records. So even though the critics may not necessarily have enjoyed this movie as much, the fans certainly are. And I hope that this movie makes a ton of money because I really want to see the DC comic universe come into existence. I don't want Warner's to be. They already second guess themselves way too much with these movies, and now that they have somebody with, whether you like it or not, there's somebody that has a vision for this universe, and I think if they're going to stick with this, and I think it's actually a good thing. Zack Snyder may not necessarily be everyone's favorite director. I personally like Snyder. I think he's very, as far as his direction goes, is very visual with the things that he does. Again, I do think the story arcs could be expanded upon, and maybe some of the things I do think he tries to stuff things in a little too much. But for the most part, I really enjoy the things I've seen from him. So, yep, 7 out of 10. I'm looking forward to more. We got Suicide Squad up next for the DC universe. That one I'm really looking forward to. We're gonna again, it not Superman, Batman. Looking forward to, but definitely can't wait to see it. We got some other comic movies on the horizon as well. With Civil War. Um, we got X-Men Apocalypse. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, which I'll probably go see, whether I want to or not. And I think we have Doctor Strange. Of course, I've got some thoughts on some of these movies for later on as well. Enough for another video, so we'll kind of get into it there. So, well, thank you so much for stopping by to take a look at my video. I hope you enjoy this. I really have, I'm really enjoying doing these videos. I really appreciate the fact that even though I only have 7 subscribers right now, which is to me is awesome. I want to thank everybody that's watching these videos, whether you subscribe or not. I would like for you to subscribe, like, share, comment. Let's. I'm hoping to make this, a bigger thing for myself and for those who are going to be involved later on. And there's going to be a lot more content coming up, not just reviews, but I'm going to do editorial things as well. My main goal is to get some debates going on here. I was kind of inspired by movie fights, to be quite honest, from Screen Junkies. They kind of got me into this, and I hope that I would like to hopefully that they would see this at some point, and something I hope that they would like. But I really, really was inspired by them to do this, and I hope that it's something that you guys that really will enjoy. That's really kind of why I'm doing this. I'm wanting to share the knowledge that I have. That sounds a little egotistical. I just like doing this. I love these types of things. Again, I plan on not just doing movies, but TV shows, comic books, other things as well. Video games. We'll hopefully get a little bit of all of this on here. I'm starting small, but I'm hoping to make it big. So thank you so much. Again, like, share, comment, subscribe, and you all have a good day.